The gender wage gap, a socioeconomic problem prevalent in American society, has persisted for decades despite efforts by the people and the government to close the wage gap between men and women. Women who work full-time year-round in the United States earn median wages that are only 80% of men's wages. In a country that claims equality for all, this harsh truth incites justified anger. Activists and regular citizens have voiced opinions opposing the gender wage gap for as long as it has existed.
Women earn only about 79 cents for every dollar a man earns. The wage gap is a complicated issue and there isn't just one main cause. Many factors interact, such as discrimination in the workplace, tradition, and the fact that women entered the workplace later than men. To find out what the public thought of the wage gap, we took to the streets.
Through our findings, we concluded that many civilians, although unfamiliar with the term gender wage gap, were aware of the problem and favored more government involvement.
The first official attempt to address the gender wage gap was in 1963, when President John F. Kennedy signed the Equal Pay Act, the EPA, meant to prohibit pay discrimination due to gender. President Kennedy remarked upon the signing of the Equal Pay Act, acknowledging the inequality women face in the workplace. He said, "This act represents many years of effort to call attention to the unconscionable practice of paying female employees less wages than male employees for the same job," regarding the EPA. More recently, in 2009, the Lilly Ledbetter Pay Act was signed by President Barack Obama. This act amends the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which stated that a lawsuit must be filed within 180 days of the start of the discriminatory action. The new act states that the 180-day limitation regarding pay discrimination resets with each new paycheck affected by that discriminatory action.
Progress has been made to close the wage gap, but it is still closing at an alarmingly slow pace.
Just the fact that we have this gap that will not be closed according to current statistics for another 170 years, we definitely need more people to get involved and more legislators to pay attention to this issue. The next president of the United States, this is an issue that they're going to have to address nationally.
Well, yes, these are women's issues. They're also family issues. They're economic issues. They're justice issues. They're fundamental to our country and our future.
And we are finally going to guarantee equal pay for women's work. It is long overdue.
Many people believe that the gender wage gap is a result of the choices women make and therefore is not a problem. These choices include that women are more likely to take leave from work to care for sick family members, to leave their job to care for children, and to choose lower paying jobs such as teaching and nursing. According to Emma Williams-Barron of the Institute for Women's Policy Research,
this mentality is wrong because our policy system is set up in ways that constrain women's options and opportunities, so women can't freely make choices about work and family. Women's decisions are constrained by systematic forces, and many of the factors contributing to the wage gap are outside their control.
And I think it's really not surprising when you realize that men and women often make different choices, and that many men place a higher priority on earning as much money as possible, where women say, hey, I want to be able to have a schedule that's similar to my kids, or I don't want to ever have to work after 6 p.m.
Women do negotiate, and like I was mentioning before, there are consequences to negotiating. There's this thought that women should just be thankful to get a job offer and thankful for whatever salary that they get.
Real working women have experienced the gender wage gap in all of its unfairness. The gap affects minority women especially. Among women across all races and ethnicities, hourly earnings lag behind those of white men. Black women are paid 63 cents for every dollar white men earn. Asian women earn about 87 cents, whites 82 cents, and Hispanics 58 cents. Cheryl Hugh graduated with an engineering degree in 1982. She dealt with an overwhelming male majority in the field and found a balance between motherhood and being a student, but she couldn't overcome pay inequity. Hugh said that she lost more than $1 million in earnings throughout her career as an engineer because she is an African American woman. Scholarly opinion is divided on the validity of the equal wage gap. Some observers, like Corinne Agnes from Forbes magazine, believe there is no gender wage gap because the basis on which male and female wages are being compared are not equal. Full-time officially means 35 hours, and men work more hours than women for many different reasons. The interpretation of the official Bureau of Labor Department statistics saying women earn only about 79 cents for every dollar a man earns could be comparing men working 40 hours to women working 35. Therefore, there is no equal wage gap because the hours aren't equal. Although there are disputes and opinions, both parties agree that this is an issue that needs to be addressed.
You have local economies and state governments paying attention to this issue, and just for that reason, these bills and legislation and policies that are coming out are effective because they're making the issue, bringing the issue to the forefront, and people are becoming more aware of issues that affect women in terms of their equity and pay.
There are many economic benefits in losing the wage gap. A study from the Women's Policy Research concludes the U.S. economy would produce an additional income of $447.6 billion if women received equal pay. Providing equal pay to women would have a dramatic impact on their families. The poverty rate for all working women would be cut in half, falling from 8.1% to 3.9%. If poverty was lower, not only would families be happier and healthier, but they would be able to participate in the economy by buying new things and pursue more education. Since the gap is highly unfavored by the majority, doesn't reflect on America's core value of equality, and puts minorities at an even greater disadvantage, it's important to know how our future president will tackle this problem. There are measures we can take to close the gap, such as strengthening work-to-family policies, paid sick days, and paid family leave, raising minimum wage because women make up 2/3 of those working for minimum wage, and advocate for policies that can close the gap. Current laws are not effective in closing the gender wage gap, and thus the next president of the United States must be dedicated to advancing the progress towards pay equity.